Hey there, Bulldog fans. Welcome back to Bulldog Breakdown with Coach Rocco. Another week, Coach, we're in the playoffs, continuing on. We're blessed. It's amazing. You guys worked hard.
Amazing ride.
They worked hard just to get us another episode. That's their whole motivation. Hey, I'm Cody Mumo. I'm your host. This is Coach Rocco. We got a lot to talk about today, fresh off of a big win, 63-14 over Turner Ashby to win the regional championship. Big accomplishment. But now we're setting our sights on the state semifinal against William Byrd Saturday, 2 p.m. at Bulldog Stadium. I know that right now, as we're recording this, GoFan has it listed at Liberty University. We're working to get that changed. Yeah. But it's a big moment for us, and man, we're pumped for it. Big weekend on the mountain overall. Liberty University's got New Mexico State coming in for the Conference USA. We're switching Friday night lights at them,
that's right.
And we're going to be on Saturday. Yeah. But I want to talk real quick a little bit about last week's game. We're going to talk to James Deyo, our Player of the Week. What a big game for him. And then we're going to take a peek at the William Byrd game, and then we'll head out. Kind of a brief podcast today. You got a JV banquet going on. A lot happening here on the mountain. We'll be right back. Folks, we're back with the film room. Again, on the ever search for the actual film room. He only lets me into the weight room. But we're going to talk about this week's game against Turner Ashby. Came in from Bridgewater, Virginia, and really we were able to put up some big numbers. As you said, it was kind of a surprise for you because they've had an excellent year. They've scored some pretty big scores themselves. So tell me a little bit about what your expectation was and maybe what some of the discrepancy, where you guys were able to take advantage of that team.
Yeah, I did not see that coming. I don't think a lot of people did, to be honest. I think it's a real testament, though, to just the wars that we play week in and week out in the Seminole District, and then we even played outside of the district. We were playing in Salem and Franklin County, and so our kids are battle tested, and I don't know that some of these other districts around quite have that week in and week out. You know, you got to show up or you're going to get your teeth kicked in. You know, so I think our guys are battle tested, as I said, and they're ready for any challenge that comes at us. And so when we went out for pregame warm up and we had our 30 guys down here, and we looked over there, and they had like 70 guys lined up in lines. It's kind of daunting, to say, but we got 11, and they got 11 that are actually going to go out on the field, and our 11 is going to be better than their 11, and they certainly were that night.
It was funny you say that. We were up in the booth, and when our guys did run out, and everybody's cheering, I had that moment too, because their team was out there, and I said, it almost feels like, where's the rest of our guys? But you can only line up 11 at a time, and our guys did it. Hey, a couple weeks ago, we had featured Dalton Nesselrode here on the podcast, and the next game he went out, had a huge game. And then, we see each week these guys doing some great things. We've talked about Gideon a couple times, talked about Gideon a little bit last week, and then his performance this week was nothing short of really historic. I read today one of the Sports Illustrated's reporters has put him in to be the Virginia Player of the Week. Wow. There's a voting on going out right now. 6 touchdowns, 304 yards in the first half, first 6 drives, and with a Gideon Davidson touchdown. Talk about his performance, how I want to say set the tone for the game, but I mean, it really was the game.
Was the game.
Yeah. Tell me about Gideon and what you saw again this week.
It continues to be just the perfect storm. Our offensive line is firing on all cylinders, doing a great job of blocking the various fronts that people put up in front of us. And then Gideon just has that knack of, finding and bobbing and weaving and finding that little seam, and then he comes out on the other end and just outruns everybody. So 6 touchdowns, 3 of the touchdowns were just like, he did one where he had like that matrix move where he was like almost laying, parallel to the ground, and then pivoted out of it and ran for a touchdown. And then there were a couple of them where our line just blocked it so perfectly that he just hit it right and came out on the other end and just outran everybody. So that's what I mean. It's just the perfect storm. Gideon is playing at a high level, and so is our offensive line.
How do you know when to pull him out? What is? I mean, if that's a thing you can share with us, when do you know? Hey, that's his last
Well,
one?
I mean, Gideon, and we've got other guys, really, key players on the field that, and unfortunately, some guys we have no backups for. So as much as you'd like to get them out of the field, off the field. You put a younger guy in, and fortunately the experience level drops dramatically. And to play against high-level competition in big games like this, I mean, it really could be detrimental putting a kid out there before he's really ready to handle the situation.
Right.
But we're very fortunate. We have, in addition to Gideon, we have 3 other running backs that we feel really, really good about. And so it makes it easy, Gideon scores a couple touchdowns, we get a little bit of a lead, and we feel like, hey, let's get him out, let's rest him a little bit, let's put some other guys in, get them into the flow of the game, and then hopefully we can pull this, a little bit further away and get Gideon out for good. And then those other guys are already into the game, they're into the flow of the game, and they can just continue to pick up and go with it.
Last thing about this game, because it was a large victory, and we've seen you really kind of level head the guys afterwards and say move on to the next game. But I did have a question about early on in the game. We go down and score immediately, and then they drive down, and it looked like they were just running and hitting our ends as best as they could, and they wind up with a touchdown. And for a moment, you say you didn't see the lopsided win coming. For a moment, it looked like we're going to be in a battle here. What did you change? Like, what happened that just clamped it down?
Well, 2 things. First thing, on defense, I think we were trying to be a little bit too cute. We had a little wrinkle that we were trying to utilize, but it really created, unfortunately, more confusion than it did putting us in a position that was actually advantageous for us. So we got more into just what we do, basic stuff. So that was that. And then, as long as we, on the offensive side, can just keep answering, if they can't stop us, at some point we'll just outscore them if we have to. And so once we kind of made some corrections on defense and we kept answering and kept the pedal to the metal on offense, that's where the disparity started pulling away. And then unfortunately, even the best teams will tap out.
Because then you have to they have to change their offensive game plan just to try and catch up, which they weren't really built in that way to do it. So that's kind of our wrap up of our game against Turner Ashby. Congratulations to them. Again, they had a great season, wonderful season. But we're on to bigger things with William Byrd coming in. We're going to talk about them in a little bit. Up next, we're going to talk to our Sideline Spotlight Player of the Week, James Deyo. All right, Bulldog fans, we are at the part that's one of your favorite Sideline Spotlight tonight. We're going to talk with somebody that should be a very familiar face to you, but many of you don't see him outside of his helmet. So number 5 on the field, James Deyo in our heart. James, what year are you, and what all positions do you play on the team?
So I'm a junior this year, and I play outside backer is my main position, and then I do a lot of wide receiver, and then I'll sub in at quarterback and second half usually.
So a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything.
Hey, that takes a lot of versatility, running, throwing, tackling. This week we get to add fumble return for a touchdown. What's up with that? How do you prepare for the diverse roles that you're going to play in a game? I've seen you play where you're on defense, you're going to throw a ball, you take a snap, run the ball, and you're out receiving.
Right.
Like that's a lot of preparation. Tell me a little bit about your preparation for a game.
So, like Coach Rocco's, we've always got stuff going on in the week. We're always prepared, and we've been running some of these plays since the beginning of the season. So to be able to pull them out now has been pretty cool. But just even throughout the summer, I've always been throwing with JD. So that pass that we did, the double pass, I was been kind of working on that with JD at home. So that one's pretty fun. And then just every week going into it and trying to get better at the plays that we've been going through. All
right, let's go back to that double pass against Rustburg. Walk me through that a little bit, what that feels like, because he was wide open. And I've always heard, I've never played quarterback ever, I've always heard that those are some of the hardest throws to make is when that guy is standing there wide open. Tell me about that moment a little bit, because that was pretty cool.
It was pretty cool because usually in practice when we run that play, they've always got a guy covering him, which shouldn't really happen. But in the game, he was so wide open, I was a little confused. Like I was wondering where the defense was, and I was just like praying that I would not, mess up that pass because we're running it a lot, and it would really, be terrible to mess that one up. So. Yeah.
And then you get a big touchdown this week.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've scored touchdowns, but picking up a fumble off the ground, how hard is it to get a ball that's rolling in the middle of the chaos?
It's pretty chaotic.
What's that like, and how did you go about doing that? And when did you know I'm gonna score on this?
So I don't know. Going into that play, like. We've been in practice. We've been doing a lot of these strip the ball drills, and then going picking it up, pinning it to the ground and picking it up. So that's really been helping. And then, so when we went into that play, I was able to strip the ball, and then I was kind of just ran through it in practice, where we just I went and pinned it, and I picked it up, and I started running, and I realized that everyone else was behind me, and I was like, I think I'm going to take this one all the way, which is pretty cool.
That is neat. Hey, Coach, that's two guys that have scored touchdowns that we weren't necessarily expecting, said the same thing, to pin the ball to the ground, and that practice makes perfect. That's pretty cool. Coach, I've asked you this about other players, and I'm gonna do it again. You got a guy here that can throw, he can run, he can catch, and he can tackle, up near the top of our tackling leaders for the season. And he's a junior, so you got another year. What's it like to have players like this? We got a smaller team in numbers, but that kind of multiplies your team when they can do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a byproduct of having smaller numbers on our team, because we have to have guys that are pretty diverse in being able to do a lot of different things. I mean, James, he's very new to football as well, and he's just kind of figuring this thing out when going all the way back to the Salem game. I mean, literally, James was playing safety the week going into Salem, and then Eli Castaneda, I think, rolled his ankle that week or something, and we had to come up with something. And so, James had played outside linebacker back in JV for a short period of time. And, James was a tough kid with good motor, and we said, hey, let's give this a shot. We got to do something. And then in that game, he went and was involved in 15 tackles in that game against a really, really good football team. And all the coaches, we looked at each other and said, man, we might have something here, And so James has gone on to be really one of the premier outside linebackers in our district and in our region. And, I think his future really, really is bright. But he can do a lot of things other than just play outside backer, but we're very thankful that he's on our team for sure.
James, we talk about you being a junior and you're going to be here another year and hopefully coming back to play. In the off season, we talked to Coach Pribble about how important it is to be part of the weightlifting program and all of that, and that starts early in the year. How do you feel that all of that preseason stuff has helped you grow as a player?
Yeah.
Especially on the defensive side of the ball where you're having to attack so hard.
Definitely. So it was also like it's been helping a lot, which is really good for me because I came off of an injury last season, and then going into the basketball season, I wasn't or going into that football season last year, I wasn't all what I used to be because I hadn't really been able to lift or anything because of my foot. And then being able to get into this past summer and then working my way through, I got a lot stronger, a lot better, just back to normal and then exceeding that, which has been really, really helpful. And all due to Coach Pribble and Coach Rocco's lifting plans, which has been awesome. Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of guys that might be watching or families might be watching that considering playing football, talking about you being kind of new to the whole football world and stuff. How would you encourage them to play, be a part of it? What's been special about it for you that's made it worthwhile?
It's definitely just the people that I've been able to play with. We're a really small team, which is really unique. So I get to be around so many of the guys all the time in practice, in games, but then also in school. So I know them a lot, and then we do stuff outside of school, which is really cool. Just being able to just grow with them has been a blessing. This year especially.
Final question.
Yep.
Winning the region, that was a pretty big deal. Mm-hmm. Moving on to the state semifinals, huge deal. as a junior, as growing into this in your high school career, how does it feel to be part of this journey, and what are your thoughts going into this game against William Byrd?
I'm super excited because being able to just see what, like 2 years ago, I was able to get pulled up to varsity. I couldn't play because of my foot, but just be able to see what they were able to do and accomplish, it makes me so excited what we're doing right now. It's like kind of on that same track. Hopefully we can maybe win it all, but just being able to do this with these guys again, it's just so fun to me, and I'm so excited to see what God's going to do.
That's awesome. Hey, Bulldog fans, in your player bingo cards, number 5, get him at quarterback, get him at receiver.
Your fantasy team.
Join your fantasy team. He will rack up the points for you. James Deyo, thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, back from hanging out with James Deyo, number 5. What an incredible guy. I mean, awesome kid too.
Great.
Just somebody that you
Great
want to want to represent your program, and I'm excited to see how his progress takes him even into the next year. It was a surprise for me to see him really excel on defense after watching him on offense that whole time. Coach, we got another contest coming up. As much as we can celebrate a 63-14 regional championship win, we don't hold that trophy too long before you have to pick up the clipboard and start talking to these guys. William Byrd is coming off a big win against Magna Vista, knocking off the number 1 seed. How does their performance in that game kind of shape our approach and preparation to this matchup?
Yeah, I mean, we've just really recently gotten some video to break them down and get a feel for what they do. We've never seen them before, nor have we really played any common opponents. So it's hard to get info on them. They really appear to be a very athletic team, very tough, physical team. It wasn't too long ago that they were perennial Class 3 top level teams. They kind of dipped off a little bit 10 years or so ago, and now they got a coach has been there maybe 5 or 6 years, and he's starting to bring them back up again. So they know how to win. They've been there before. I mean, their crowd, I mean, they know how to follow and support their program too. I mean, they will pack out our place here on Saturday. So, I mean, hopefully our people will come and support, but it's going to be state semifinals the way you want state semifinals to be.
Right. I hear that it's supposed to be 55 degrees, overcast, 2 p.m. on a Saturday. Your evenings right now in preparing for this game, it's 40 degrees out there, dropping into the 30s. What does that do for you practice-wise and preparing for a game that's going to be in the day, it's going to be nice, and yet I have to imagine it kind of limits a little bit of your practice.
Yeah, and I do think even just 55 degrees, it may not seem like anything, but now that we've gotten used to the colder weather, I am a little concerned about the 55 degrees being warm, you know, and making sure the guys are hydrated and properly nutrition and, doing the right things to prepare for a game like that. So we'll work hard on it all week long. So
I know you're a vault, and I know you don't give away anything that's important, but for the average fan, just curious, do you, going into these things, are there things that you have in the playbook that really haven't made the surface, until the playoffs that you're able to now unload as we're getting towards the end of this that your opponents haven't seen yet?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the double pass that James was referring to had been practiced for multiple weeks, and, it's got to be just the right field position. It's got to be the right hash mark, right down in distance to be able to actually work for you, So, yeah, we've got a handful of plays that we continue to pull in and push off from our playbook each week if it appears to be something that would be beneficial to run against what that team does. Sometimes a team will play a certain defensive look that a certain trick play just isn't going to work against, but then it may work against something else later on. So we'll insert or take out as we feel needed, but there's always a couple wrinkles up our sleeves,
Yeah. I have to imagine that after a play like that, the guys get a little jazzed up, excited.
Yeah. And they like practicing them in practice. And I mean, you can tell, like, if something really has the potential to be a good play, I mean, usually in practice you can sense that. And this double pass that we ran, you could tell that was going to be a good one. It's hard to get the scout team to react like the real the opponent's going to react. And then even with James usually wears gloves on his hand. And we ran it a couple times in practice where he would get the ball to throw it. He's a lefty, but he didn't have time to take his glove off, and the ball would come out of his hand and just like go right on the ground, or it would sail on him. It was like, James, wait, the guy's wide open. You just threw it 10 feet over his head. And it was because he can't get his glove off to have a good touch or good feel on the ball. So the other night, when we ran it against Rustburg, we called the play, and he was coming from the sideline. I said, take your glove off now. So as he was running, he was taking his glove off, and he just put it in his belt, and then he ran the play and was able to throw the touchdown. But his glove was in his belt the whole time.
What a great moment. Yeah. I can't imagine what that was like to look over and see him as wide open as he was. It was amazing. Tell me about the team real quick as far as health-wise. Any updates on Griff and So Griff, had a pin put in his wrist, and it was right in the wrist joint. So he's been in a cast here for a couple weeks, and I think he's going back on Thursday. And potentially, a lot of people playing cast. Now, he's a receiver and a DB. I don't think it would be too advantageous to play in a cast and be a receiver, but I mean, he could play DB or run down on kickoffs and be able to, pad the cast up. Ryan Sisney's playing with a cast right now. Hopeful that maybe, whether this week or hopefully next week, he may be can feel being a part of the team again. Elias Maraglia's had a nagging kind of like just a pinched nerve kind of a thing, and he just hits it the wrong way. It, reacts on him, and it's been now, he hasn't played in the last 2 games, and happened in 3 games ago, I think. So hopefully it's calmed down over the last 3 weeks, and he's been doing therapy and stuff, so hopefully he can get back. But other than that, everybody's bumped and bruised. I mean, we've been playing now 13, 14 weeks, and this is the 14th week, so everybody's bumped and bruised a little bit. Yeah. Last question, Coach. With the game being played on Saturday, how does an extra day of preparation play into your preparation? How does it benefit the team and in preparing for this game?
Yeah, I mean, when you go out to practice at this time of the year, I mean, the basics and fundamentals you want to kind of brush up on every time you're out there, but it's not like you got to spend a lot of time on. You've been doing it all year long, and so mostly it's game planning stuff, and just being able to get the feel of the game and understand how plays are going to play out. Have some foresight in presenting a real game-like situation for the guys. We don't stay out in the field too long, cut probably 15, 20 minutes off of practices. Today, which is Monday, we're taping this, we kind of used as a bonus day. We didn't do any physical stuff. It was all mental and film work and chalkboard stuff. And then tomorrow, Tuesday, will end up being our Monday, and then we'll do every day just kind of one day off. But we're thankful that we have the extra day to prepare.
Well, it is championship weekend on the mountain. Obviously, Conference USA coming in. I know already several people that are coming in for that game that are curious about the LCA game, have asked some questions. Yeah. So I know I was pleased to see the number of people that came out to this past game. Yeah. We say it week in and week out. It's so important for these boys to see the crowd in the stands.
Yeah, it is. Especially this week. I mean, I've already confirmed with William Byrd that they're bringing busloads of fan buses. Their band is coming.
Okay.
Their cheerleading squad, varsity and JV. So I mean, they're a community that has great pride and have been there before, and they're just very, very energetic to kind of be back into into being relevant again. So hopefully our fans can match their energy and enthusiasm.
That's what makes high school football
That's right.
fun. I love when the opposing fans are there. I mean,
Right.
and loud, yelling, cheering for their. But I love when our fans are there. Hey, that wraps up today's episode of Bulldog Breakdown. Thank you guys for tuning in yet again. It's been a fun season. A lot of people talking about it, talking about the Bulldog Breakdown with you, Coach, and enjoying to get to hear from you. We're going to gear up for Saturday's game against William Byrd. Remember, your support means everything. Let's fill the stands. Be loud, especially on third down when Mr. Clam is playing that noise and saying it's third down. Be loud. Cheer the Bulldogs to victory. If you haven't grabbed your tickets yet, you can go on GoFan. The season passes don't apply here, so you do need to get a ticket. And you can do that on GoFan. Link is right here in the caption. Everywhere this is posted, there will be a link in the caption. Don't miss out on being part of this journey. All for the latest updates, behind the scenes, everything going on. Make sure to follow us on our social media. We love seeing our Bulldog family grow week in and week out. So until next time, I'm Cody, Coach Rocco. Go Bulldogs!